Happy New Year!
2025.
2025 indeed. And we do have here the ultimate DPS tier list. This combines meta, performance, fun, fantasy, and our personal bias on everything. So this is a mess, a clusterfuck of a tier list.
It's everything under the sun, and it's both of our opinions in one tier list. So it's gonna be a fun
mess.
time.
Yeah, let's start it off. Let's
All right.
let's
Well,
kick
what
it.
do we got first?
First, Frost Death Knight.
Ooh. I know we're gonna have difference of opinions here.
Not really, no. I mean, I would definitely put this into A tier. First of all, it performs great.
Yeah.
Especially in Mythic Plus. Come on.
Clearly.
It has some issues with some bosses in the raid, but generally, I feel, just to close it off, I feel Frost Decay right now is a lot better than it used to be, and I respect it a lot more.
It's really good for the game that Frost Decay is so meta, because it was one of those specs that never saw the light of day, similar to Enhancement and Red, which obviously is not the case now, so we're, in a different age of WoW. Single target, it definitely sucks. They've over-nerfed it single target way too much.
I know.
But overall, it still shines, and I have been pleasantly surprised at how fun and, okay, it's not complicated, but Jesus, it's not the same stuff anymore. So A tier for me too, yeah.
Okay, so oh my god, can you believe it?
Yeah.
We went directly on an agreement. Now, Unholy DK, obviously for me it's S tier.
Sure.
Because, first of all, I main it, but I think I made a lot of cases within the videos I made regarding Unholy DK and previous rankings on your behalf. It's doing great performance-wise. I wouldn't call it meta, because it's not, especially in the raid.
No.
It has similar issues with Frost in single-target bosses as well. Doesn't really perform as well as other melee specs. But in Mythic Plus, I think it's one of the best specs you can ever play, period. And even in raids, and especially on Overnax, you will truly enjoy the power of quadratic scaling.
Oh man, so for Unholy, for me, it's a weird case, because I haven't played it as much in the Warden as I wanted to, because I was just on to the Frost Decay. Theme-wise, I normally like it. I usually default to it before Frost. I would probably put it into A at the moment. I might change my opinion if I play a little bit more. So I don't know, maybe something like bottom S tier or something like that.
Yeah, we'll put it in S tier and see what comes prior to it.
Yeah.
All right, Havoc Demon Hunter. For me, Havoc Demon Hunter...
Divinity.
See, it didn't start good for the Havoc Demon Hunter. I don't like it. I started leveling my Havoc Demon Hunter as well. I've looked on other people's opinions on it and playstyle with it. As much as I do like momentum, I don't feel it delivers on the fantasy for me. Not completely. Still buggy, still problems with it. So if I were to put a rank on it, it would be a C tier.
C tier. Yeah. I think that's probably where I see it. It's a little bit different. I've played it, I leveled mine, and it's complex, bro. Like,
I know.
You have 17 damage windows and everything has to be lined up properly.
It's not what it used to be, yeah.
It's in terms of pure gameplay, it's fun. It's not the best, but it's fun. But in terms of a demon hunter, it doesn't click with me either. Yeah. And I think it hasn't clicked since Legion, because I mained Demon Hunter in Legion in Emerald Nightmare because momentum was the shit back then. And it's not a super amazing thing, but you do zoom around the battlefield and it feels unique. It feels like, oh, this is Demon Hunter. You're just super fast. You go from left to right, and that feel doesn't really translate with inertia with what we have today, where you just do one every 20 seconds or so, or 10 seconds. So C tier, yeah, C tier. I would have put a D tier before I played it a couple of weeks ago, but now it's C tier for me too.
It's C tier. It still has some cool elements for it. Okay, Balanced Druid. Now, I think everybody knows where I would rank this. So for this is the only spec I will not talk about, because I have never played it. I will never play it, and I'll let Flame rank it, and I'll agree with him. Okay? All right.
I have slightly come around Balanced Druid, but that's probably because it's just a spec that I've always liked. I don't think it's in a good state whatsoever. It's probably similar to what you feel about Ret Paladin, where it's usually a spec that you normally really go for.
Yeah.
But the current version just doesn't do it, so I would probably put it into B tier at the moment. I miss playing it, but every time I play it, like, okay, I cannot play for more than a couple of dungeons per month. So
fair enough. Hey man, it's B tier, okay? Move along. Feral Druid. I always loved Feral Druid.
Sure.
I know its performance is not the best right now, and it has a lot of problems. Well, I think all druids have a lot of problems with their talents, and we wait for 11.1 changes. Maybe they're already happening. Who knows?
Sure.
But Feral Druid for me is a solid B tier, and I'm almost close to putting it into A tier. it's B tier still because of its problems.
I actually thought you were gonna say A tier, and I was gonna come at you with a B tier as well because. And
I gotta be realistic, homie. I cannot.
Yeah, I can contrast this with Balanced Druid, even though Feral is in a better state. It's the bar for Feral is way lower than it is for Balanced Druid in terms of tuning and design. They took away tear open wounds. They did a lot of changes to a lot of specs in the War Within that kind of took away some flavor of their gameplay. Tear open wounds was cool because it's basically like how Assassination Rogue has both Caustic Spatter and Crimson Tempest. Now Feral just has Caustic Spatter. So it's a little bit more boring now. Plus all the problems with the Druid, I cannot really see it above B tier, but it has potential to be easy S tier. But not at the moment.
Potential there. So we will keep it here. All right. Devastation Evoker. Now we will get to Augmentation, obviously.
Evoker is such a weird class for us to rank.
Yeah, it's always going to be weird. But for me, Devastation, I like its animations to the spells. Mind you, I don't like the drag tier race. And that's about it for Devastation. So for me, it's a solid D.
The thing is, because now that we have Drag tier for a lot of other classes, will we ever have Evoker for other classes? I mean, it doesn't make sense, but sense doesn't matter when you're designing specs and race combos. If I just have to rank the spec itself, I would put it into A tier. It's actually really fun.
Okay, we'll have to meet middle ground.
It's kind of yeah, we're gonna obviously put it in middle ground, but it's kind of like the Ret of ranged. I don't know if it's more complex or no, but it's explosive and you always go.
But
you
also,
always go
like
off.
Performance-wise, it's not that great. I mean, if you're gonna like compare it to Ret does a lot better than.
Well, this is difficult to assess because nobody plays Devastation.
Yeah,
have you ever seen? You've seen Ret, you've seen Ferals, you haven't seen a Devastation. And I've seen Devastations really destroy, but it's really difficult to play them because the range actually is.
Okay, we'll put it into B tier.
Yeah,
how about that? Okay, we'll put it into B. I'll agree to put it way behind the Druid specs. Beast Mastery Hunter. Again, I like the concept of Beast Mastery Hunter. I don't know if it's still like the gem I used to have back in War Within, but I remember I had a good time playing it. I know it's not as easy as it used to be, which is a good thing. Performance-wise, I'm okay with it. I would put it into, I don't know, maybe C or B tier.
It's a B tier for me because they've...
You look disappointed, Flame.
Yeah, because I feel like they're missing the mark with Beast Mastery with each design, or at least the mark that I would like them to hit, as in just focus on pets. I don't want it to be the demonology of hunters, but I do want to feel like, dude, the pets that I have matter, but pets are essentially just cosmetic effects that you see. They're spell effects that happen at the target's location, and that's a little bit disappointing, and its overall talent tree has so many issues where you need 3 talents to have basic AoE.
Yeah.
And you're never gonna pick one of them. So it has some issues. Playstyle, I like it. I like the fact that I just don't care about any mechanics whatsoever. I can just
That's the beauty of it. This is why we cannot rank it below B tier because it still has that.
B tier is where I would put it. So I don't know. Figure what's
it's B tier. It's B tier. So it's perfectly fine because I said either C or B. Marksmanship Hunter, however, I would put it a bit higher. I like what I'm seeing, man. I mean, I would put it in front of B tier. I won't put it A tier because I still feel there's a lot
I would put it in front of Beast Mastery as well. Normally I'm a Beast Mastery hunter, but Marksmanship is more fun. However, it stops. It's like a more boring version of Ret. It's probably more interesting because you haven't played it as much, but if you played it, you kind of do the same stuff, and it doesn't feel like it has. Because I compare it with Ret. I don't know if that's a fair comparison.
I mean, so far you compare all specs with Ret
because Ret is just. I mean, Ret is the most popular spec in the game, and for good reasons, right? And we don't like it for biased reasons, but that doesn't mean it's bad. We'll get to Ret eventually. But Marksmanship is a more boring version of Ret because it does have bursty and cool moments, but it doesn't have the versatility.
It's very repeatable.
Yeah, it's the repeatable
short loops.
Yeah, it comes in quick, and you don't seem to have like, oh, I really am going to destroy this boss, or I'm really going to destroy this pack. It doesn't feel like that brings the stuff in.
It lacks the meat.
The Dark Ranger, because we're talking about performance, I don't think Marksmanship still play Dark Ranger. And that's a shame because that's what you want. Because I've played the Dark Ranger version of Marksmanship in the PTR when we tested it. I
remember.
That was so fun. That would be A tier for me. Yeah. But since that's not played and we're kind of looking at the performance a little bit more, maybe you played on like some super niche Kaivisa builds, but
all right, we'll put it into B tier in front of
BM at least.
BM, yeah. Okay, Survival Hunter on the other hand, I think we can both agree. I mean, I would put it at least A tier. The rework was nice. I always loved this spec. I know it has its problems in the past. I know performance-wise is decent enough. I don't know about the raid necessarily, but I've seen it in keys and pretty good, not gonna lie. So a solid A tier.
In terms of performance, holy shit, dude. I've played it a week or two ago on stream. I was cranking more. I was
there you go.
590 item level with no tier set. I was doing more damage than my 610, 620 mage. That was unreal. So when you go into survival and you're throwing out bombs and explosive shots and things boom around you, you do damage. And when you see it on the meters, that helps. Plus, the fact that you have 5, 6, 7 builds that you can play with both of the hero talents.
Very important.
That just adds a level of variety that's very hard to get bored of, because you always can switch it up and you always have access to different tools. All the talents are really good. It's S tier. I don't know if it's the top of the S tier for me, but it's definitely S tier. I don't know where you would...
okay, I will put it into S tier, but I will not put it in front of Unholy.
No,
that's the compromise.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right, Arcane Mage. Arcane Mage, I haven't played it, so I only have one opinion on the mage specs, and that's for fire, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna agree on that. So go ahead on
Arcane Mage is definitely S tier for me. It has some of the...
Get the fuck, really?
Oh yeah, no. But
fuck it.
Does it surprise you?
S tier.
The playstyle is really good. The performance has kind of dipped a little bit because it's been nerfed a little bit too much, but that's the story with almost all mages. The playstyle is just so satisfying. When you get the procs and it just everything explodes.
And it looks amazing. It's like Christmas.
Yeah, it's way simpler than it used to be. It's more accessible to a lot of players. Right now, Arcane, I don't think it's the harder spec of the mage yet. We'll probably get to it in a second. But yeah, it's been really fun and really surprising, and I love going back into Arcane again. It's a little bit limited in terms of performance. It doesn't have the AoE of Fire and Frost. It doesn't seem so...
But it's in no way the dog shit performance category, so this is why it shall retain.
It's a little bit above average.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to just put Fire Mage in S tier.
Oh, easy.
In front, I'm going to put it in front of Survival. The first two, because these are
Unholy, motherfuckers. The only spec we both agreed to be S tier. What the fuck are you doing?
I mean, it doesn't matter like Unholy because these are our mains.
Sure.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Obviously, there's a bias implied there, but I mean, Fire is my current main, and playing Frostfire, I legit think maybe Elemental can give a run for its money, but it's the most complicated spec I've ever played.
Damn!
Not in the sense that it's hard to understand what you need to do, but it's hard to pull it off. Like, if you remember, I don't know the last time you played Fire Mage, but if you remember, it's like, oh, you need to like really hit it right at the right time.
Yeah.
Now it's like triple that.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 extra procs from Frostfire and Meteor that's more important than I think, I might be paraphrasing here, but I think it's more important than consuming Hot Streak if you hit Meteor. Because now you have Meteor and Comets. Visually, it's obviously the most impressive Fire Mage spec. Its playstyle it's so meticulous and calculated. I fucking love it. It's a blast.
I know. I've been a fan for Mage for the longest time.
You got to try it sometime.
At some point I will, but there's others on the list. How about Frost Mage? And again, this is another spec I haven't played. I've seen it. Performance-wise, it's really good.
It's the best Mage spec at the moment.
And so it has to be at least an A tier ranking.
In terms of performance, yes.
You don't like it?
Because it's boring. I mean, it's fine. It's cool in AoE because you have some really neat combos when you go with Cold Snap and you Con of Cold, reset all of your cooldowns, go again.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to get that with what we're playing because we would probably have to do like higher keys and bigger pulls. It's kind of like Unholy. Right. It has a really good damage profile, which is probably why it's the best mage spec played in keys at the moment. So I don't think the other mage specs come closer, but it does get repetitive. It's kind of like Ret in that sense as well, where it gets repetitive. It's the same old, same all. And yeah,
we keep it A tier?
A tier, yeah. It's still a mage spec. It has all the cool mage stuff, so it's
so
fun.
Interesting. Frost DK and Frost Mage are in A tier. The only specs so far in A tier. Okay. Windwalker Monk. Now, Windwalker Monk, I always find it fun regardless of how it looks. And I remember we talked a lot about its rework in War Within.
Yeah.
It still has some issues. Performance-wise, it's not doing spectacular in any capacity.
It's a
but
shame.
it's still such a fun spec to play. Like, I wouldn't dare put it below A tier.
A tier would be for me as well, because it was so close to being my main. Monk,
I know.
Monk was one of the classes that I was considering being a main, and what pulled me off were two things. One being Brewmaster, and the other one being that the hero talents for Windwalker just weren't there. Like, I didn't care about the damage. Oh my god, Windwalker is so fun with the rework and the new talents. And I don't know the variety of the builds because I haven't played Windwalker in a while. But if they're actually as variable as the survival ones, oh dude, you have so many different playstyles. You have the Palpatine build.
I've seen that. Yeah, it's amazing. The only thing that would probably drag it down for not being in S tier in our ultimate DPS tier list is its performance. It's not the best. Yeah, and also like the problems, the hero talents. No, it's true.
Too bland.
Hero talents were always kind of boring, so we were hoping for some more.
And even with that, it's still A tier. Like,
yeah, we put it in A tier. Yeah,
fun spec to
put it in A tier. Right, Ret Paladin, baby, Ret Paladin. Now,
go.
I am not gonna put it below A tier as well. Normally, this would always go into S tier, and you know that, right? So for me, Ret Paladin has to be, I don't know, some sort of combination between the 1 minute sequence from Shadowlands and something along the lines of how it was firstly reworked. Currently, I'm not really the biggest fan of it, but I still loved the spec because it was always my first love, right? And also performance-wise, it's really good. It's not at the top of the top, but it's really good. So at least an A tier for me.
Untouchable, and that's a
Tanky,
great spec. Untouchable
useful,
in the sense of balance and tuning, because I mean, unless they really want to tank it, but I don't think they're gonna do that because it is the most played spec in the game at the moment.
Yes.
Because it's very accessible, it's easy to get into, it's easy to do good damage with. Obviously, there's some skill component there that you can take to the next level that not a lot of people can do, but that's fine. They don't have to. It is very fun. Now, Red was the other potential main candidate for me, and I know this because I felt very emotional about it. It does get a little bit boring, and I have a couple of problems with the fact that Final Reckoning is so bad that you want Execution in Mythic Plus.
Yeah, I hate that.
Just because it's more efficient and the damage is very close, and that just doesn't make sense. Dude, if I want to go in Mythic Plus, I want to blast AoE. I don't want to play single target.
Yeah. Plus, you already played that type of gameplay in the past.
Yeah, right? And if I pick Executions, I pick it because I want to do boss damage. I don't pick it because it's the better option.
Yeah,
overall.
It's not intuitive to take that talent into Mythic Plus because it's like a super single target, burst that target down talent.
Plus,
right?
To be fair, the more we get all of the new reworks like Survival, like Enhancement, the more the Red tree feels a little bit outdated with very little variety. We still don't have anything for Divine Hammer after 2 years of having
there's
it so
a lot of
A tier for me because it's still fun. So in general, A tier specs for me are like, I just want to have a little bit of fun. I don't really want to care too much.
And they do good damage as well.
Yeah, good damage, good fun, explosive stuff, but I cannot really main them.
Okay, Shadow Priest. I know you don't necessarily like it. I played it and I love it. I don't know what about it because I really don't know what I'm doing. I haven't read any guide or whatever.
Void Weaver?
Yes, of course, Void Weaver.
Did you play with Mind Spike or
No, I didn't play with
Mind Insanity.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, that's why you like it.
I loved it. It's like, again, not the super damage all across the board spec, but the way it like delivers on the fantasy and the mechanics of it, and you mentioned it going insane and having everything. I don't know, man. It's just, I cannot think of any other spec that goes so hard into like delivering on what a Shadow Priest is about. So for me, this would be an S tier.
Okay. For me, so normally I would have. No. So see, the problem is that I've played a better version of Shadow Priest, and that's just
I didn't. Okay,
that just bothers me. We can talk about the fact that Mindseer was taken away, which is controversial, but that happened to a lot of specs that are coming on this list.
I don't care about Mindseer.
Yeah, that's.
I played it in BFA. I played I had a couple.
But Mindseer with Psychic Link, which is the way you do AoE now, was so good. Because I remember playing in Algathar Academy when you had like 50 mobs and you press that Mindseer and everything exploded. Like, you don't have that feeling anymore, which is fine. Listen, it doesn't have to be there. It is still good if you play with Mind Flay Insanity the way you play. Because if you have to play with Mind Spike, the spec drops at least 2 ranks for me. And that's a terrible situation to be in because as of now, and I like it now, I would put it into A tier. Right now, it's still fun. I love the fact that I can, take Cthulhu, Yogg-Saron, Yasharaj, all sorts of different playstyles.
And the visuals for it as well.
Yeah, the visuals and Void Weaver is really, really cool. And even if Archon is a little bit meh, the Shadow Halo is still really cool to press. Exactly, it's impactful in your rotation. So I would put it into.
Okay, we'll keep it into A tier then because it's not like performance-wise, you cannot really like
Yeah, unfortunately, it still suffers a little bit behind the others.
Yeah. All right. Assassination Rogue. I mean, it's hard not to.
Performance-wise, it's up there. It's up there with almost Frost DK.
No, but also the rework was pretty good initially, right? There were a couple of issues, not going to mention it, but in terms of like changing how Assassination used to be in the past, it was a great rework. And the fact that it finally became a meta spec, out of all of the 3 rogues, I would never have thought in my life that Assassination would be the best in Mythic Plus.
So we started getting invested into class heavily in BFA, because I remember when I did the research for Rogue guides, and I went into sub and it was shit, but then sub and Outlaw kind of had their ups and downs over the years in terms of meta. Assassination wasn't really, it was like trying to bump its head across the ceiling and never really broke through. So it's great to see it now, and I think Assassination for me is what I used to like about Feral. It's a dot spec that has access to some variety. It's way better than Feral. It has way more death. It has way more cooldowns. It has way more interactions and versatility in terms of how it's doing its damage. Obviously, I also mained it in the Mirdrasil, which wasn't that different from what we have right now. Kingsbane was just nerfed, so it's not as big of a impact in your rotation. But I love it, and it's probably one of my favorite rogue specs.
So where would you rank it?
Top of the A tier, I would put it.
Top of the A tier. I agree. We shall put it in front of Le Frost DK. Give me a second. Outlaw Rogue. Okay, performance-wise, not the best. It's doing great recently.
It has some killer single target damage in raids.
Yes, and also I've seen some good logs on Mythic Plus as well. It's doing great. I mean, it will always do at least good damage in AoE and cleave, all right? This spec for me was the most fun I had like ever playing a spec.
I still cannot believe it, because you trashed Outlaw for its theme so much.
I know, man, but like the playstyle, like forget the theme, right? Forget the theme. There's the playstyle of it
was peak for me.
Oh, exactly, for me too. And it's not that different right now. It's like more or less the same thing. The only problem is like it still has a couple of bugs and it's still some outdated mechanics. Other than that, it's great.
Talking about Killing Spree?
Yes.
Killing Spree so it's Outlaw was.
You can also talk about the hero talents. There's a lot to like, and we don't want to go into that much detail.
The Dragonfly version of Outlaw was peak melee gameplay for me, and I think what we have right now just takes it down a peg. I don't feel like Blade Rush. I don't know if last I played it, you used to have to take Blade Rush, and Killing Spree just kind of break you from that flow, that juiciness, that smoothness. It just breaks you out of it, and that takes it down a peg. So I would probably put it bottom A tier.
Bottom A tier. Okay, I was ready to put it into S tier, but I am going to put it right now in front of Ret Paladin.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, I can see that. Sure, that's fair.
S tier. Subtlety Rogue, man, this is gonna be a hard one. I feel so bad for Subtlety Rogue, man, because it had a hard time.
I wasn't ever a big rogue player until Mirdrasil, when I started to main it, and I just fell in love with Subtlety.
It's the spec you fall in love with.
Yeah, and it's weird because normally I like Assassination, but I tried playing Assassination, I was like, Smolderon? Nah, I'm just gonna play Subtlety.
Yeah, well, Smolderon was the boss for Subtlety.
This is so specific, because I haven't heard a lot of people liking it for the same reason, but the reason why I liked it the most was because of Shadow Dust. Because with Shadow Dust, you could actually choose when you want to have your DPS cooldowns ready. No other spec really has that option. Having that power is like, okay, I want my cooldowns in 30 seconds or in a minute. What am I going to do? Let's get into a minute. I think a minute is fine. That's when I'm going to pop. That kind of control is fucking incredible. Not to mention it was super satisfying. They've lost Shadow Dust, if I believe. They took it a couple of patches ago. And now it's kind of dipped a little bit. Not to mention the performance is just atrocious.
Oh yeah, performance is bad.
I get Trickster with Nimble Flurry. That's cute. But if I don't want to play Nimble Flurry and I want to play Deathstalker, like every 2 patches they buff Black Powder by 23% and it still doesn't do any damage.
They still want to go for that spam Black Powder, but it's not just not working. I would say that one of the coolest things they ever added for Subtlety, and it's still available to this day in War Within, Secret Technique, and the way you buff that and you make that shit hit like a truck. That for me was always one of the most satisfying like hits for melee. And I mained Subtlety back in Dragonflight as well, especially in Season 1 in Keys. And I'm telling you, man, that was like the best thing ever. Like once you do a little prep and you get all the buffs lined up, it's beautiful. So just to wrap it up, bad performance-wise, but I still have hopes for it. I cannot put it into C tier. I want to put it in B tier.
I was gonna say top of the B tier. I just like it too
in
much.
In front of Balance. Let's go! Yes!
Yeah, its damage is way worse, but I just like the concept.
All right, Elemental Shaman, no questions asked. I'm gonna put it in S tier.
S tier. No, it's hard. Shaman.
I mean, come on. I mean, it plays great. It has like the best visuals and sound effects. It has great performance. What else do you want? It's there.
I cannot really say, because all of the problems that I had with Elemental, it feels like they fixed them. They removed the button bloat. They've made Ice Fury into something that's interesting. They've reworked Ascendance to kind of work with both lightning style playstyles and fire playstyles. They reworked a bunch of stuff. I'm kind of waiting a little bit on Echo of the Great Sun Ring to see if that changes or remains the same, because that's still a little bit boring. But other than that, dude, Elemental and Shaman is just eating right.
How about Enhancement? Because it's here.
For me, it would be a smidge below Fire Mage. It would be top of the S tier, but it would be my second best favorite.
It's going to be behind Unholy DK, my friend. That's what's going to happen.
You don't like Enhancement?
I do, but I cannot put it like in front of my main right now. It has to be there. So we have these top three. It's kind of expected. But yeah, I think it's a very similar story for Enhancement towards Elemental as well. It's like, you know, same arguments for me. Everybody keeps telling me, you gotta play Enhancement, you gotta play Enhancement. Why don't you play Enhancement? You're gonna love Enhancement. I will play Enhancement. I know it's fun. I know. Everybody that plays it says, oh my God, it's so good.
Yep.
And I love the fantasy of it, and I love the fact that it performs very well. It has to be S tier.
Yeah, no, it's probably the best melee spec in the game at the moment.
Okay, now come the Warlock specs. Affliction Warlock.
Okay.
Now, these are three specs I haven't touched in a long time, so I'll let you carry the torch here. I'll maybe add in a couple of farts.
Warlock used to be my... Warlock and Balanced Druid used to be my default cast. I mained Warlock back in Dragonflight, and I just don't really like what they're doing. Particularly with Affliction, they've made it better. It's a better spec than it was before, but it took away Seed of Corruption spam, and I cannot help to feel that they did that just to make the hero talents make sense, and that's just a bitter taste in my mouth, because why do I have to give up something that I like just for your system to work? That just feels terrible. Outside of that, it's still pretty fun. It's explosive. It has some real potential. It just ramps up too slow. I'll probably put it in B tier, around Balanced Druid. I don't know where that would be.
That's quite in front of B tier. So it surpasses Feral Druid, Devastation Evoker, Marksmanship Hunter, and BM Hunter.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's way better than all of those.
Yeah, I'm not going to put it in front of Feral because we have to make a compromise.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Demonology Warlock. Similar story?
Demonology Warlock still is a spec that I'm emotionally attached to.
I know.
It's fun to play. It has the fun, build the shards, spin the shards.
I mean, come on, you gotta give it at least the fantasy.
Puppets into demons.
They did great with the fantasy.
Yeah, they did good. I feel like
stop hating on Demonology.
It's just not clicking for me, man. It's just not clicking. Something's missing. It would probably still be B tier. Normally I would put it way in front of Affliction, but it's probably around Affliction right now because it's just not clicking for me.
Okay. Destruction Warlock?
Top of the B tier.
Top of the beat in front of Subtlety.
In front of Subtlety. I have played Destruction right now, and it is stupid. I was afraid that they were going to nerf its AoE scaling a little bit too much, because it was always cool to like, oh, you just spam, but it's still there.
You're keeping into account the damage performance as well.
Yeah, the damage is good. I mean, Destruction has raised among the meters since MDIO quite a lot.
That's why I'm asking.
It's the Unholy story. You just need very large pools, and if you get very large pools, I don't know which one is better in terms of AoE scaling, because they both really require like infinite amount of targets, but it doesn't have a cap where it goes, and it's really fun. And once you pop your Overfiend, it just starts to shoot machine gun chaos bolts. I mean, I
gotta love it. You gotta love it. Yeah.
And the fact that in single target now you play Shadow Burn and Soul Fire, you actually have a complex single target rotation as opposed to what it was before. I think it upgraded nicely, and it is my favorite Warlock spec in the world.
Okay, I'll agree with him. Here it's gonna be in front of B tier. Arms Warrior. I have to tell you, man, I always love Arms Warriors. I know it's a big disappointment because there's still, I would say, a lot of issues. So the fact that they haven't touched this spec, I think, in like forever, and it's clearly in need of some great love, it will be ranked down. That doesn't mean we don't, I mean, that for me at least, I want to play Arms once again. Like I really want in one season to main it fully and just to stick to it. Now it's not the time. I feel it has the potential, but at this point, performance-wise, its problems, for me, would be a D.
It wouldn't be a D for me just yet. I have played it. I think the hero talents actually pull it ahead for where it deserves to be. The hero talents are doing too much work and making Arms feel like a good spec, and it's not because it's Arms, it's mostly because Colossus and Slayer are actually kind of cool to play, but it doesn't even compare to how Fury and Prot Warrior play with those hero talents. It's not clicking. Like, I don't know what they're doing, because you pretty much have similar rotations, similar playstyles. You have Cleave, which is a much more interesting ability now, but something is missing. I don't know what it is with Arms. I just don't feel it anymore. I would probably put it into C tier.
Oh, okay. So C tier. Okay. Well, we'll make the compromise. It shall remain in C tier because it's low.
It's arms. It's still arms. Stats, big execute. Some of the best execute in the game. And its performance is decent. It's above average.
All right. Fury Warrior, on the other hand.
This was the saving grace. Like I think when I leveled the warrior a couple of months ago, I hopped into Fury. We were doing, I think, a video or something on Fury a couple of months ago.
Yeah, probably.
And it literally made me a little bit emotional. It's like, oh my god, is Warrior back? Is Warrior actually good? Fury, playing Slayer Fury feels like what a warrior should be. What normally arms would be with Blaze. That's what you would feel. When you press Blaze Storm, shit happens. Like shit is dying around you.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what you want. Execute is still a little bit weak because obviously it's Fury. It's not going to be as strong as arms. But it is super, super fun. And then when you play Mountain Thing and you leap and you call down thunder from the sky.
I love Mountain Thing, man.
The sound effects, it's literally, I kind of want to be an Enhancement Shaman, man. It's really fun. And whenever you go from spamming Whirlwind to keep up your AoE to doing Thunderclap, you're like, oh shit, wait a minute, I'm actually a warrior. I just don't have to spend Whirlwind all the time. So it is fun. I would put it into bottom A tier for me.
I would have put it into A tier as well, hands down. So there has to be like, plus it retains that flow, that really smooth flow of Fury. You always love that within its rotation. Not the most complicated in the world, but you don't really need that. If it does well and plays smoothly, that's all you need basically. So has to be an A tier, and performance wise, it's good. Okay, Augmentation Evoker, last on the list.
We got there.
Yeah, so as I said in previous videos, I love the concept of Augmentation Evoker. Plus, I started leveling mine and actually playing as Augmentation. I love it. I just love everything that it does. And you mentioned in a previous video to just look at the spells and everything that man, it's gorgeous. It's like if only I would be a big buff dragon, right? Like look like a dragon, it would be the perfect dish for me. So I am gonna put this into S tier. Not because of the slinky winky visuals, but because of the concept. I love it because of the spells and because of its performance. I mean, you cannot really deny fucking Augmentation performance is everywhere.
I kind of wanted to put it into S tier just to see you play it, just to see you made it in the season.
It's there. It's a candidate.
If we take away the drag tier, I do have to say that Augmentation is just peak spec design, modern spec design, as much as they keep reworking other specs in terms of I've said this before, in terms of the rig of the model, in terms of the spell effects, their interactions, and how they interact with the combat itself, how it puts you as the character from one point to the other when you fly around and you dip around, and how the awareness that you have kind of split in between a healer and a DPS is really unique and is really cool, and it's definitely feels like WoW 2.0 in terms of like spec design and mechanics and all of that stuff. So put it bottom S tier, I would say.
Okay,
but
so it goes
only because we're now ranking the fact that black dragons should have been tanks and drag tiers should have been meaty.
There's a lot of arguments to that, but hey, this is the final ultimate DPS tier list, and once again,
what a pot of everything.
Yeah, it's not only meta, it's also fun, it's fantasy, rotation, talent builds. We talked about a lot of things on this tier list. And also, if you want to know what are our first candidates for mains in 11.1, make sure to click on the top of our heads over here. It's not on Flame's face anymore.
Oh, it's on yours?
It's on above us, because we're both here. It's above us. Right, click there. All right, see ya.
Bye.